Welcome, welcome, everybody. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Thank you for the next 2 hours. I'll be your host, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty, along with Dr. Carolyn Dean. And we are going to have a great time, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going to talk about the thing that matters most to all of us, and that's our health. Our well-being, our wellness, our vitality, our joy. And we're going to talk about how to achieve that physically, mentally, and spiritually through the bright ideas of our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean. And I want to read something to you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm holding in my hand that just thrills me to tears. And this is from a book that you, unfortunately, will not have because it was copywritten in 1989 by our very own Dr. Dean. And it says, do you want to use natural remedies but don't know where to start? Are you tired of having a drug prescribed for you every time you go to the doctor? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the intro to her book, When You Can't Reach the Doctor, Remedies of Dr. Carolyn Dean. And today, that's 1989. Today is 2019. And so let's just do the quick tally and realize that Dr. Dean has been at this for a minute. She has been teaching the public, her people in her practice at the time and the public all around the world how to use natural remedies even when you don't know where to start, and not to rely on drugs and devices for your health, vitality, and well-being. And she's going to do it again tonight. And you know what? She's going to do it with complete and total joy, absolute willingness, and total clarity of mind. And on top of that, she's going to be right. She's going to be right exactly about what she tells you to do because she's been doing it herself for 35, 40, 50, 60 years. Who even knows anymore? We've all lost track because she's absolutely gorgeously, gloriously beautiful herself, and she looks like she's about 10, and she's been taking her own medicine, and it's been working beautifully. So you're just going to be so thrilled to hear what she has to say, and I'm so very happy to have her with us, her in your shoes, and she's going to love being able to share that with you this evening. So welcome, everybody, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Hey. I was just instructing Bob to go get my copy of When You Can't Reach the Doctor in our garage, one of our garage libraries, because I forget how many pages that is or was. Do you have it there? Do you have the book in front of you?
Yes, I have it. It's just the most precious thing. It's 125 pages, not including the appendix in which you outline the diseases and remedies. So 130 precious little pages. Yeah.
And they're tiny. I mean, that was just like a 5x4 book. And the point I'm going to make is that book got repeated and repeated. I had it published, what was that title? Complementary Natural Prescriptions. And the title was totally screwed up. They spelled it complimentary as if it was a giveaway book. The publisher at the time. Oh, it's so funny. And now, seriously, folks, this is, I think it's 600 pages, Future Health Now Encyclopedia, and it's entirely free for you to download it anytime you want to and look up the 130 diseases. It's free at drcarolyndeanlive.com along with 10 other free books. So that's my gift. I don't know if I sell any of my books anymore. Some of them are still on Amazon, but the folks who are customers know that it's free. They are free at drcarolyndeanlive.com. So, yes, it's about 8 inches. Bob just got it by 4 inches. Tiny little book. And I wrote it back in the day, in the first few years of my practice, because people would come in and ask the same questions about the same conditions, and I started out by just making handouts about colds and flus and this and that, and then it became the booklet. So
that was 1988 after a trip around the States in the fall of '88.
Right. I had someone put it all together, and in 1989 it was published. So that's pretty awesome, 30 years ago. And yes, the words that Ginny read out are exactly what I'm doing now, only I put myself in charge of the supplements that people are taking, because the supplements that are in the marketplace these days, I don't even trust. And so the only way I can trust them is if I make them myself, and Ginny and I make ourselves responsible for the COAs, the certificates of analysis, make sure if the FDA walks in our door, they're going to leave smiling and happy, because we're doing exactly what they want done to ensure the safety of the whole supplement industry. So that's very, very cute introduction. Thank you. And Ginny, we have a big announcement today, don't we? People who are on our mailing list did get the email about ReMag lotion is in the building. Right, Ginny? That's
oh, my gosh.
That's totally.
That is a double, triple gainer yay with a clear swoop into the water. I tell you, we have been waiting. And I said to Carolyn via email the other day, I said, as God is my witness, I will never run out of ReMag lotion again. No, we will never run out of it again. I don't care what we have to do. But our customers rely so much on it. It's become such an important part of what we do. And of course, so many people love the ReMag liquid, as well they should. But there's just times when you want to use the lotion, definitely topically. Some people, that's their preference. And also, it's great to travel with. I mean, just great to travel with. So much fun. And you can use it with the little kids, and you can use it with the elderly. And, I mean, my husband shaves and rubs it on his face. I mean, it's perfectly gentle and wonderful. So we're just so happy to have it back in the building. Absolutely.
Right, and keep yourself supplied with it. I know Ginny's right in that we'll never run out, and we're taking steps to, we'll make it ourselves, for example, because we were just trying to make the formula better and better, and then when we depend on other people to do that, I mean, things run askew. So there's no limit on how many bottles you can buy, so stock up and make sure you keep it on hand. And it makes a great gift as well. Birthdays, Christmas is long gone, but anyway, any of the holidays, because it's something as a body cream anyone can use. We do find, when customers complain that their friends won't take the liquid, that it's very easy to give away the lotion because it feels so good. It's a great hydrator. It's a great body cream. And yes, we do. Well, we don't tell people to do this, but we say that if any of our friends or relatives were stuck in the hospital, we would be putting the ReMag lotion in a simple body cream jar and putting it right by their bedside. And I know a lot of older people, they have dry skin and they like to use body cream, and this will definitely help. And actually, that does remind me of one of my most recent blogs. Let me get to that at drcarolyndean.com, a different website. And it is moisturizing for mental health. So this was, as I say, the coolest article in the Sacramento Bee, and it was about a University of California, San Francisco study about just putting a moisturizing cream on age-damaged skin in older adults. And they said just doing that, sort of trying to heal up this breakage, it decreased the inflammation in the body, and that inflammation that irritates all parts of the body, including the brain. So, of course, I'm thinking, well, yeah, let's use the ReMag lotion instead of just a plain body cream. And right away you have scientific validation that it's going to help decrease inflammation. But with the addition of the ReMag in the ReMag lotion, you're supporting 1,000 enzyme systems, and you're helping the body drive over 80% of known metabolic functions in the body. And the ReMag lotion, the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of ReMag. What does the recipe say? 200 milligrams per teaspoon. Sheesh. I better drink some water, Ginny. I just had a brain fart.
And okay. 3 pumps. 3 pumps is a teaspoon, Carolyn.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I hadn't worked that out. Very good. So, ReMag is in the building. I want to see them fly off the shelves. We've got 20,000 bottles of lotion, and we've ordered another 20,000. Ginny is serious about not running out of this. So then we have Ginny's blog, and we highlight it. We begin the show with it every week, where Ginny, she decides on a topic. We rarely confab about it. Last week I said, hey, Ginny, why don't we do such and such? And she said, we just did it the other day. So I leave it up to Ginny. And this one you can see at drcarolyndeanlive.com. It's about stress. I didn't copy the title. What's the title of your blog, Ginny?
Magnesium and mineral solutions, support for stressed out people.
Support for stressed out people. Okay. So that's a title, and I realized when I was reading, everybody thinks they're under stress, but we talk about it way too much. Yes, we're under stress, but it's too visible. We're reading too many negative things. I've told people to stop watching TV, and, I suppose I should stop reading the Internet because there's so much negative stuff out there, and negative stuff draws people's attention far more than positive stuff. Remember the books, Ginny, Chicken Soup for the Soul? They were one of the first positive book series, apart from novels and all. But Chicken Soup for the Soul, if you read the author's description of how long it took him, how many publishers rejected him before he was able to publish his books, it was just, astronomical, because it's almost like, positive stuff. It doesn't have enough, rubbernecking involved. It's not enough gawking. It's not enough survival mentality that we've gotten into. So I don't know how to change that whole media zeitgeist, but just for you to recognize that there's far too much talk about stress in the world, and that just escalates the stress because nobody knows how, or they don't think they know how to get rid of it. And Ginny has the stats on how the reporting of stress in America has increased in the past couple of years. And all we're going to say about it is that the dietary supplements, they're not going to change the external circumstances, but they can definitely help your body not get into the tension that it can with overwhelming or ongoing stress. What I wrote in the Magnesium Miracle to kind of identify the whole problem with stress and anxiety was just to say that a calm person in control of the nervous system, how do we become calm, and how do we switch to anxious and fearful. And I really do truly know that it's because we get a depletion in our magnesium reserves, and then when a stress comes along, all of a sudden we're jumping at a noise. We're just on edge. That is magnesium deficiency. I remember when I was deficient, something would happen, I would jump. Bob would laugh at me. Damn him. And then I'd get stressed at that. But when you have magnesium deficiency, your adrenal glands are hyperactive, your heart rate will race when you have, hear that explosion or loud noise, but there is definitely a way around it. And instead of, supposedly coping with drugs, all the psychiatric drugs, or coping with street drugs or over-the-counter drugs or the dope that's available now, you really have to look at your magnesium depletion. In what was it? It might have been my ReMag book, the free download of Invisible Minerals 1, Part 1 ReMag, or it could have been in my Magnesium Miracle book. There's this one story where British telephone consult patient of mine, she told me that, quote, a very special friend of ours was going through a very bad patch earlier this year. A relative who she was extremely close to was suffering with liver failure, and another relative who has prostate cancer had just had a test showing a rise in his PSA, despite his good diet and supplements. My friend said she was suffering from dreadful stress and feeling constantly anxious with a tight pain around her chest. I suggested the ReMag, and she finally tried it, and literally a few days later she started feeling better. Her chest pains went away, as did her nightly leg cramps, and the constant feeling of tension lessened to such a degree she felt she could cope once more. And this happens over and over again. People with anxiety attacks, they'll take their ReMag. People who have insomnia, someone reported, and I wrote that this testimonial, I've been sleeping very well, experiencing very little or no anxiety, hardly any or no heart palpitations. This is after having suffered AFib and anxiety for almost 10 years. I'm stronger in the evening hours than I used to be and can do many, many things throughout the day and night that I couldn't do before without some kind of reaction. I do relax and rest and pace myself. I faithfully take my ReMag and Remite, Realign, and RNA drops. Sometimes I don't always get all my salt water down, but I aim to reach my goal every day. On and on and on. So we know that the external conflict that comes into our lives is always going to be there, and it really is a matter of how your body responds and how strong your body is, how your building blocks can support you in the midst of conflict and stress. Okay, so I will stop there. I know I sort of skirted over Ginny's blog, but people who are on their computers listening, they can go and read the whole article as I'm looking at it myself. And I'll just stop now before I go into the blog mailbag questions to ask Ginny if there's anything more she'd like to add.
No, absolutely not. Perfect.
Very good. Okay. Now, not all the questions we get in the mailbag are related to the topic, but I do like to go over them because if I speak the answers, then I don't have to write and email the answers. And, we're very busy with customer service, so let's do these questions. Someone asks if I can do a show about eye health. And this customer says she has several different eye diagnoses and has been using our products for over a year. After using the ReMag for 6 months, she said her myopia decreased a half diopter in each eye. She gives an exclamation mark. I was grateful as I have retinal thinning, cataracts, vitreous sin or something in both eyes. I don't know what that is. Let me look it up. I've been researching vitamins and nutrition and found that taurine is helpful, and Dr. Dean has this in Realign. And she said she thought it would be interesting to hear others' experiences and her questions regarding eye health, even the biogenealogy, which Dr. Dean discusses in relation to health. Yes, the total biology. And what I've done about eyes in the past actually is readily available online, because most of the things I do, I blog. So what you do is just look at do a Google search, put my name in, and eyes and magnesium, or put in cataract, glaucoma, macular degeneration. I've looked at all these conditions. So there's always information that I've already done out in the world. So do that. And then what I'm going to say about the eyes that I personally do, I will put a drop of RNA reset into saline water. I get a pure saline for contact lenses with no preservative, just pure saline. And I'll rinse my eyes with that a couple times a week. And then one of our customer service people, Doug, he started using a drop of pico silver in each eye. Now, I thought that might burn or whatever because it's kind of in a water base, but it's not bad. Just you put pico silver in a clean dropper bottle. Actually, if you clean out your RNA reset bottle really well, you can use that. Label it, of course, so you know what you've got. 1 drop in each eye, so I've started to do that. And the vitreous condition that our customer mentioned is posterior vitreous detachment, or the beginnings of a detachment. As one ages, the vitreous undergoes syneresis, syneresis, where it becomes more fluid and liquid-like. Okay, so it's not a detachment. I apologize. But what I did when I was looking into macular degeneration, I looked up the vitreous of the eye and what made up the vitreous, and that's in my glaucoma calcification blog. And I'm being a little stilted in my words here because I'm multitasking. So what I did when I looked up vitreous humor was found out what makes up the vitreous humor. And it is water, it is electrolytes, and that's our ReMag and ReMite. It is ascorbic acid, but they really should say vitamin C complex, and that'll be coming out in our food-based vitamin C very shortly. It is glutathione. These are all the components of the vitreous humor. Glutathione, which we make with the methionine in our Realign, and it's immunoglobulins, and immunoglobulin activity is enhanced by minerals and methylated B vitamins in Realign. And that's the way I look at conditions, is what's the different tissues in the body made of? What do we have to enhance? And this makes me think of a protein. I was looking up cell membranes and how cell membranes are made of lipids and protein, and they are in a 50-50 ratio. So protein is just so important to the body, and I have real concerns about especially young people who get into the vegan, vegetarian myth so early, because I don't think they're getting enough protein structure for their body. And the mitochondria, the most important little factory in our cells, the mitochondria that makes our energy, in order to make the ATP energy in the mitochondria, you need magnesium in 6 of the 8 steps. Well, the mitochondrial membrane is 75% protein and 25% lipids. So I really want people to consider the grave importance of protein in their diet. Okay, let's move on with the mailbag. That was a little sidebar about eyes. Hello, Carolyn. I just had some surgery done last week, wondering which of the products should I take more of to get myself back to normal quick. I don't have time to be sick, etc. Of course not. Well, I know when friends and family ask me this kind of question, I really do say just double up on everything. And I'm not sure, but I think that's what our Margaret Lee did when she had her hip replacement. Just double up on everything if you possibly can. More ReMag, more Remite, more Realign, a couple of doses of Restructure. The RNA drops, just be careful with those, maybe not doubling up on those, but as you prepare for the surgery, increase by a couple of drops each week until maybe you are at a doubling amount. Ginny, do you have anything else to say to that? What do we tell people in customer service?
We tell them your words, exactly what you say.
Okay.
We really do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Just checking. Oh, that's so funny.
I passed the test. Yay! No, we really do tell them exactly what you said.
Okay. And it's easy to remember. Oh, double up. Okay, fine. And next question, could you please tell me how ReMag could help with my asthma? Well, how it does help is that magnesium, especially in ReMag form where it's so well absorbed, relaxes the bronchial vessels. The bronchial tubes are lined with muscles, as every tube in our body is, and if you don't have enough magnesium, those bronchial tubes can go into spasm. I mean, when I was magnesium deficient way back, and I would laugh myself silly at, probably at and with Bob, I could start wheezing because the laughter would set my lungs into a bit of a spasm. And because I was so depleted in magnesium, they would actually go into a wheezing spasm. So ReMag is definitely going to help people who have bronchial spasms as part of their asthma. Next question, 53-year-old female says, I started having heart flutters, went to a doctor friend. He did an EKG and said I was fine. He also took blood. He said my blood pressure was too high and gave me a diuretic. The flutters got worse. Now, that sounds familiar, right? When you take a medication for a condition that's already a magnesium deficiency problem, you create more magnesium deficiency and your symptoms can get worse. I mean, this business about blood pressure being too high, she didn't say what her level was, but we know that the new blood pressure cutoff is actually like a normal blood pressure. They're saying the 130 part of your blood pressure, the top part of your blood pressure. If it's 130, then you're in the high blood pressure realm. And we also know that your top systolic blood pressure can shoot up in the doctor's office because of white coat syndrome. So it's really quite horrifying that this is happening more and more. Instead of, 1 second, I got to tell Bob that Jimmy's at the door. Yeah. Instead of by this time in our world realizing that blood pressure can be a factor of magnesium deficiency, they make a lower blood pressure the bad guy and immediately give someone a diuretic. It's like the doctors want to do something to help, and then they hurt people. And then they start complaining that they're dissatisfied in medicine, they're depressed, they're giving up medicine. 4 out of 5 doctors feel stressed in medicine, and it's no wonder because they're really not helping people. I'm sorry. Some of them are, but, when someone comes in and complains about heart flutters that are probably magnesium deficiency, and you look at a slightly elevated blood pressure and put them on a diuretic that will squeeze out the magnesium in their body, you are not helping. So her flutters got worse, and on Christmas Eve, had major stress with Christmas, drinking alcohol perhaps, eating a lot more sugar, I'm sure. She had an episode that lasted 4 hours and took her to the emergency room. They told me it was PVCs, which is premature ventricular contractions, and they were normal, and to take Xanax. So an anti-anxiety drug, which is a benzodiazepine, which is addictive. So then she says, my sister-in-law heard about your product, and it changed my life. Thank goodness. Here's my question. I'm now seeing a holistic doctor. My level is 4.5. She wants me to be at 6.5. I'm now taking 2 teaspoons a day. She took my blood again, and it's just up to 5. And she says she's confused. Well, this is where you have to start reading my books. I love the fact that her practitioner told her what to take and told her the optimum level. But please read my books. Get more involved in your own care about this, because instead of, as you say, I'm confused, why is this happening to me? Most people don't take magnesium at all, ! I've been having the PVCs again, but not as bad. Could there be something else that is depleting my magnesium that I should address? I also take ReMag daily and use your protein shakes, which is awesome. I mean, I really think this person is trying hard, but if they read my Magnesium Miracle book or the free ReMag book at drcarolyndeanlive.com, you would know that 2 teaspoons may not be enough. You would know that the blood test isn't that accurate. And you would know that if you're still having PVCs, you need more magnesium. I would have said in the book that I had to take 4 teaspoons until I really got nicely saturated. And instead of people saying, well, that didn't work, could there be something else that's depleting my magnesium? So yes. Then there's the list of dozens of things that I say could be coffee, stress, sugar, yeast overgrowth, surgeries, you name it. And when you look at all those factors and say, oh, okay, then there's the reason, then I don't have to worry that, is there something else going on. I know, this customer didn't think there was something else, another disease. She did say, what else is depleting my magnesium? And I have lists of all those things that can deplete just to relieve a person's mind that, okay, there's a good reason I'm still depleted. Someone said I have a spinal fracture, which led to nerve damage from my hips down. Also, an overactive bladder. Will magnesium help? Well, ReMag might help. Not any magnesium can help because you have to get it absorbed properly. So I don't really know what exactly is going on with the spinal fracture, nerve damage, and the overactive bladder. What we know about the bladder, if it's not just nerves, if it's calcification on the bladder wall or in the urethra, you can have a leaky bladder. And we definitely have had customers who've told us that they've come off their adult diapers after taking ReMag for a time because they offered the reason is that their calcium of their calcification of their bladder decreased. All you can do is try it. This woman who asks us, you can read the books, get comfortable with what magnesium can do for the nerves, for the muscles, for calcification, and take it in high enough doses. The next mailbag, now this is interesting. This is someone not on our products, but who sent the following. I'm desperately in need of your help. Now, I don't really like to respond to people who are desperate because I'm not their doctor. I'm not allowed to give medical advice. But this is how she continues. I recently went on a 6-day water fast in February in which my heart rate skyrocketed. I've been taking magnesium and potassium as a supplement, and it has improved somewhat, but I still have tachycardia, 130 beats per minute plus. She said, I didn't have this before the water fast. I had my magnesium RBC done. It came back 5.4. Potassium was on the low end of normal. Also had B12 run, and it looks like it's low normal. Doctor said all these are in the normal range. It seems in the morning I run a higher heart rate, and when I eat a salty meal, it gets worse. By the afternoon, it seems to be more normalized. I've played around. So I don't like hearing that either. I played around with how much my body handles the magnesium, and I can get around 450 to 500 a day by spraying. As far as potassium, I take a half scoop, 500 milligrams to scoop, 1,000 milligrams a day. Also, I have been salt sensitive, so when I have salt, I also get a high pulse rate over 110. I would love your thoughts on this as I want this matter resolved with my heart. So I just said back, and this was all this morning, getting ready for the show, let me understand more about what has happened. Did you prepare for the fast by working up your ReMag, ReMite, Realign, and RNA drops like I lay out? Fasting is very stressful, and you do need to support the body with nutrients. So, I was kind of admonishing her and saying, well, what you did is certainly not what I recommend. And, she's not making me liable for it, I know, but I just wanted very clear to this person, not a customer yet, what my stand is on fasting. I've written the book, Reset Your Ideal Weight. I lay out very carefully that a person really must have their nutrients in place before they decide to go fasting. And I know this is actually an important topic because keto diet and intermittent fasting is getting pretty common. And when you look at the keto boards now and the keto supplements and the keto information, they do say there are 3 major mineral deficiencies on a ketogenic diet. They say it's sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And what happens, as this person says, she's playing around with with what to take, and taking 1,000 milligrams of potassium and probably not enough magnesium, and already being sensitive to sodium in her salt means that everything's out of balance to my mind. And so she writes back after I said, "Did you prepare for the fast?" And she says, "Thank you kindly for getting back with me. I did not do anything to prepare for the fast, which obviously now I think was incredibly ignorant of me. I wouldn't have done it if I knew this was going to happen. Now I don't think I'll be doing it again. During the fast, I was taking, she said it was a replenisher, which seemed to help." Oh, I better look that up and what it was. I think I looked it up, and it has a few milligrams of a couple of minerals. They call it an electrolyte hydrator, and it's hydrating electrolyte with vitamin C, calcium, 65 milligrams magnesium, as magnesium citrate 100 milligrams. And this is in a scoop. Looks like about a teaspoon. So it has, it does have some magnesium as citrate, so that's good. But 100 milligrams compared to my example of what I required, 1,200 milligrams, and citrate is more of a laxative than it is going to be well absorbed. So anyway, she did know that her electrolytes are probably going to be out of balance with her heart rate, and she stopped it on day 3 of her 6-day fast, because her heart rate was really high at 168, and then she went back on it. So it's this on and off that I really try to advise people to stop doing. And then she bought a keto electrolyte powder with 1,000 of potassium and used the magnesium spray. She's now afraid to take more potassium with all the negative info out there. So it's a struggle for people because you really don't have doctors who will give advice about all this, and there's so many people online now who declare themselves experts on the ketogenic diet, but they're not. It's just what they've gone through. So I would tell people, if they're asking me how do I prepare for a fast, to read my book, the Reset Your Ideal Weight. It's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com. You really have to get on our building block products, because these days, with 80% of the population deficient in magnesium, diving into a new diet and fasting, there are going to be repercussions. And what is going to happen is the medical establishment is just going to start pounding back at people that you shouldn't fast, you shouldn't do keto, you shouldn't do any of these things because you're going to make yourself sick. And I say if you do it right, with the right nutrients and support, you do not make yourself sick. Last mailbag. My husband has had borderline high blood pressure for 2 years. Not wanting to go on medication, I started him on ReMag. He was only on it for 4 days when he went to a doctor's visit, and his blood pressure was normal after only 4 days. That's how I made a believer out of my husband. Isn't that awesome? So I do have another topic, but I'm going to stop because I've been talking nonstop, and let Ginny take over and go to chat and whatnot while I drink my hydrating sea salted water.
Okay, very good, very good. Let me just remind everybody, call-in talk show, definitely second hour. We take a lot of phone calls. 602-666-6027 is the phone number to call if you'd like to talk to Carolyn, Dr. Dean this afternoon, early evening. if you do call in, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 will wave your hand and let me know that you want to become off mute, and then you can talk to Carolyn. Otherwise, your phone stays on mute and you don't get through. And sometimes people will take their phone off mute, or they think they do, by hitting *5, and then time lapses on the show and I don't call on them. If that happens, just chat in to me on the chat line and give me your area code, and I'll take you off manually, because sometimes, technology, people, we can't always rely on it. Okay. On the chat line, let me read a couple things, Carolyn, that people have typed in, and then we'll see what you have to say about all these various situations. One of the things is our good friend Nancy up in Portland, who we completely and totally love, has already ordered her ReMag lotion probably earlier today. That's very sweet. And she says, hello, everybody. We love to say hello to Nancy. And, of course, Jean's sending her good vibes, too. Carol Ann types in, can you explain how the magnesium helps hearing? I have noticed my hearing has improved.
Some people get calcification of the little hair cells in the inner ear, and I think that's probably what could be happening. Awesome.
Very good. Excellent. Yes, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Perfect. Question from Tricia. She says, do magnesium-deficient women have magnesium-deficient children? My child is showing symptoms of curvature of the spine. Is this a magnesium or mineral deficiency?
It's hard to say, but certainly, yes, children can be born with magnesium deficiency because they're not getting that nutrient from their mother. And in the Magnesium Miracle book, I have a section on pregnancy and children and, heaven forbid, cerebral palsy, crib death. These are consequences of magnesium deficiency. Don't know about spinal curvature. Quite possibly. I hadn't thought of that. The kids that get scoliosis, why does that happen? And is it because their bones don't have the necessary magnesium to create the right structure? And definitely with spinal curvature and scoliosis, I'd be using a lot of ReMag lotion, working with EGOSCU, EGOSCUE. It's a body alignment modality that, as far as I can see, is very safe, and it uses techniques that can be self-administered. But I'm sure you're looking into it and probably have a chiropractor and all the good things. But, yeah, adding ReMag orally and ReMag lotion, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Amy types in, hi, Dr. Dean. My left thumbnail has about 20 horizontal ridges in it, and my right thumbnail is just fine. And then Tamara follows up with, I also have striations or ridges on most of my nails. My dentist has shown me my striations in my teeth on x-rays, hoping ReMag and ReMite will help this.
Okay. When something is on one side and not the other, I think of total biology. And what does total biology say about nails? I mean, they're what we grasp things with. The teeth and the nails are how we grasp.
Why do you think of that, on one side and not the other?
That's where in a right-handed person, the right side is kind of controlled emotionally by a spouse or a partner, and the left side controlled, conflicted, or affected by parents, children, and siblings. So then we look at, so with the one thumb being affected, I can look at thumb. Oh, it's not the thumb, it's nails. Yeah, I have this file with hundreds of pages. If I bite my nails, it means I'm not allowed to show my anger and aggressiveness. No, that's not it. And then I found snails. That's not it. For her nails, we can also say she must not cling to her biological mother, because to cling to her signifies... No, there's nothing that... there's biting nails. There's missing nails. No, I'm sorry I even brought it up. I apologize. I can't offer.
Well, you know, sometimes it is, Amy didn't say whether or not she's using the ReMag and ReMite. And I know a lot of people just naturally and effortlessly have all kinds of imbalances that are corrected in their bodies as they continue on the products. I mean, after a while, you start to expect your body is doing well instead of not, you know, expecting that it's going to perform properly. So, you know, I think there'll probably be improvements. I mean, a lot of people have all these little kind of things. Like I used to have those little white calcification marks in my fingers, and they've all gone away since using ReMag. I mean, that was when I was in my 30s. I don't have those anymore. You know, I mean, there's just all...
A zinc deficiency is the white dots. I mean, go to my Future Health Now encyclopedia and look up nails. I think I have a section on that. And I looked up striations on the teeth because it can be related to tetracycline antibiotics. I don't know if it's that kind of striation. Tetracycline leaves behind a dark stain that can be either striated in nature or cover the entire tooth surface. So there's that possibility, you know, drugs. But, yeah, the minerals we tell people to use, and, you know, it's sort of following along after the fasting with your minerals. Instead of bobbing and weaving, oh, this is up and this is down, I better take this and not take that. No, just use our ReMag according to how you feel, and you can sort of follow it with your magnesium RBC test. Hopefully, as we're doing our studies, we'll be able to influence more people to do the ionized magnesium test. That's what we hope. So follow your clinical and your RBC testing. Take ReMag and take ReMite. Take ReMite in the low doses we recommend, just a teaspoon and a half a day, and slowly over time you'll build up your minerals rather than forcing, you know, high doses of dirt minerals into a body and you don't know what's happening. And that's why we say gradually increase your ReMag and ReMite, and as the body holds on to these necessary minerals, then everything's going to respond. Right, Ginny?
Absolutely. 2 minutes to the top of the hour, Genevieve chimed in on the conversation, Carolyn, and said, I was told that nail striations are a result of malabsorption of nutrients.
Well, I mean, that's obviously one of the situations, but think about a person with malabsorption or just not taking them. You know, and in terms of malabsorption, I mean, we have the key to that as well, because our ReMag and ReMite are fully absorbed at the cellular level. So yes, it is, as Amy is asking, yes, your nails could turn around, but it'll take months as your nail grows out with the new nutrients.
Very good. Excellent. So we'll come back in the hour two. We'll do some more mailbag. We'll do some more chat line, and we'll do some telephone calls at 602-666-6027. Again, call in this evening to talk to Dr. Carolyn Dean. You will be happy you do. I try to beg everybody, as many people as possible. I walk around with a little sandwich board on my lunch hour. Call and talk to Carolyn. She knows what's going on. I try to get as many people to call as possible because I think it's just absolutely amazing the information you get and the opportunity that you have to talk to somebody who's not only knowledgeable but actually cares. Cares, for crying out loud. So anyway, we'll be right back, everybody. Hour two following up. Thanks for everybody for chiming in, and we'll be right back.
be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
AchieveRadio.com.
Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The Wellness Scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. The Wellness Scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. So glad you've joined us this wonderful Monday evening, April 29th. Glorious, glorious day on planet Earth. So many wonderful, wonderful things happening, and so many wonderful things happening for you in your body. Knowing Dr. Carolyn Dean and knowing what she knows about health, vitality, and well-being, and getting you focused on how to really turn that around or sustain the goodness that you do have, because you could have a lot of that going on too, as most people do. So we're welcoming you back, Carolyn, into Hour 2. Hello, hello. Did you wet your whistle?
I'm here. Excellent. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, let's follow up and finish our chat line. One of the questions came from Lewis in Los Angeles. He said, I have ReMag. How does it help for a high PSA reading?
It's not specific, and I mean, the minerals aren't specific for any one disease, so we don't treat it like a drug in any way. But with the PSA, prostate-specific antigen, I look at zinc, and there are a number of herbs that are used for the prostate. I really do think a high PSA can indicate a prostatitis that's driven by yeast overgrowth. So what you would do, Lewis, is go to my book, Reset the Yeast Connection. It's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and go to the gentleman's section, or just do a search for prostate and see what I have to say there. Future Health Now Encyclopedia, also a free download. You could look at prostate there and read about ReMite and Invisible Minerals Part 2 book, ReMite, Recalcia. And yes, I am making people responsible for educating themselves about what we're doing. We do not just say to people, oh, take this and, pat you on the head and tell you to send in the $5. We definitely want people to be in charge of their own health, so they know exactly what they're doing and what they're taking and why they're taking it. It really does change everything when you partner with your own health. Right,
it
Jenny?
does, and yeah, it does, because, I am a complete and total know-nothing when it comes to any of this business, especially before 2010 when I met you. And I often really honestly reflect back with a little bit of chagrin about how really sick my father was and how little I knew about how to help him. And there are probably a lot of things I could have done. I don't know that I would have been able to extend his life by much, but I certainly would have been able to help his level of comfort and everything. And I didn't even know how to do that because I didn't know. But since I've been working with you all these years, investigating everything you say, and it's just from a place of wanting to know more, the body is just so fabulous and fascinating. And if you do, get on YouTube and watch a video on mitochondria, it'll blow your mind what those little things are doing,
right.
all over your body, right?
Mm-hmm. In every cell of your body. Yeah, there's 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria in every cell of your body, except your red blood cells. Now, this is where I have the problem, the intellectual problem with the magnesium RBC test. RBC, red blood cells. They're testing the magnesium in the red blood cells and telling us that this is an accurate measure. How can it be when the most important mineral in the cell is in the mitochondria doing its little dance to make ATP, the energy? So you see the problem. They're testing a cell that has no business having a lot of magnesium in it. So, we really have a long way to go to really know what our magnesium levels are. I don't even bother testing mine. I just go by my symptoms. And I take my ReMag, used to take 4 teaspoons, and I went to 3 when I started taking my ReMite and when I got off my thyroid medications, and then all of a sudden I only needed 2 and sometimes less than that. So you have to get to know your own body, and it may seem like a lot of work, but it's really, really worth it, because in the middle of the night when you've had some alcohol or you're stressed out and your heart starts to elevate, heart rate starts to elevate, or you get your PVCs, then just to go and take some more ReMag. That's all. And I'm not going to stop people from going to the ER to make sure, but you have to know that when you rush to the ER with your magnesium deficiency symptoms, they're not going to know it's magnesium deficiency, and half the time you're going to go home with a drug. So you have to be aware of that as well. And how do you become aware? You read the book. You read for anything to do with the heart, you can read Atrial Fibrillation, Remineralize Your Heart. Even if you don't have AFib, we've done heart webinars as well. Go look at, type in webinar heart, Dr. Carolyn Dean, and look at the webinar. Educate yourself about your own particular body. Right, Jenny?
Right, because I think about Lewis in L.A., and I'm thinking, I didn't even know what a PSA reading was, of course, but I'm thinking, how on the earth would yeast have anything to do with your poor little prostate all the way down there minding its own business? But that stuff just takes over your body.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's something that doctors have ignored, avoided, not paid any attention to forever. Yeast overgrowth, and the fact that it can stir up your little prostate and make it inflamed, and then elevate your PSA and make you think you have, prostate cancer, for Pete's sakes. And I think over the years, if you look up the PSA, prostate-specific antigen test, they realize it's really not that much help. But I'm not going to tell people not to do the test, because when they come to us and say their PSA is up, then I'll say, well, look at yeast, and then factor that in. We don't treat cancer here. We don't give advice for cancer, but Melody Rose and I are working on an FAQ, because I tell people to look at the conflict. I mean, the conflict, if it is prostate, heaven forbid, cancer, is somehow related to being a grandfather. If an older gentleman feels that he doesn't have anyone to carry on his line, if he doesn't have children or his children aren't producing grandchildren, then that can irritate the prostate, as the prostate tries to make more or new seminal fluid to lubricate the whole business of creating semen and producing offspring. Now, this is a deep kind of primitive reaction that total biology comes up with. It sounds bizarre, but it makes all the sense in the world to me when you think about it. So we tell people doing the completement formulas can help any condition, and we refer to our total biology practitioner, Dr. David Holt.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, and we have a whole list of resources on total biology. If you want to email customer support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset, Louis, so you can learn more about that. Because when you do get into the conflict basis of disease and the emotional conflict, and then realize emotions are vibrations, and realize vibrations affect your cells, then you could see how all that would be happening. So it's kind of a little bit of a rabbit trail, but it's a fun one. And then you learn so much, and you have another option. And I think that's the other point of empowerment, Carolyn, is giving people options.
Right, absolutely. And that's definitely what we're good at, is giving people these options. We never tell them to stop their drugs. We never tell them to stop going to their doctor or the ER or whatever is required, but we tell them just to educate themselves about everything that's going on, and use their completement formulas. And if a person's health condition is related to nutrient deficiencies, and you clear up those nutrient deficiencies, you may not need the medication. And any doctor worth their salt is going to take a person off of medication if they no longer require it. And if they don't, you can find another doctor. So there.
Amen. So there you go. Bam, bam. Dr. Dean has spoken. Okay, let's do a couple more chat line questions, one of which was, I think this is so sweet. And you know what? We do not say this enough. I could spend the rest of my life saying these very words. I wanted to give a shout-out to your customer support and shipping department. Customer service is a plus, and I get my products within 2 days.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you do. Wow. And we've got a lot of great people on our team, and they are working very diligently, and they're so wonderful, so wonderful. So thank you for acknowledging and saying that. That's so sweet. That's very sweet. Love and appreciate all of them.
Yes,
Carolyn,
me too.
Me too. Michelle says, yes, Carolyn does. She's always doing fun things for the team, and she's always flying in and dusting the entire premise with all kinds of gifts and accolades and everything. She's very generous and giving. Very generous woman, Carolyn Dean is. Michelle says, following keto with ReMag and ReMag, contracted viral or bacterial lung infection, what would you do to empty lungs of fluid?
Right. Well, that's our Pico Silver. I have no idea why that happened, but I would look at yeast overgrowth and Pico Silver especially the Pico Silver, because when you're changing your diet, and I have no idea what Michelle's previous diet was, but we think of colds and flus as beneficial mucus eliminations, for example. And when a person shifts their diet, then you can detoxify. And this is where in the reset your ideal weight, I also throw in the Realign, which is our detoxifier, and the RNA reset drops, which helps the body build healthy cells. So I say keto and intermittent fasting do require the whole bundle. The bundle does include restructure, and that's what you would go on when you're breaking your fast. So add the Pico Silver as the support for the immune system.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Peter says, types in Carolyn, in your book, you talk about using caution with magnesium if one has a slow heartbeat. Mine is typically around 45 to 50 during the night and 55 to 60 during the day at work due to a low thyroid. My question, what do you consider a low heartbeat, such that one should not use magnesium? I have a slight heart arrhythmia due to high blood pressure I'm trying to overcome. Thank you.
Right. I can't. This is too medical for me to touch, Peter. They talk about slow heart rates in athletes. You know, Bob has a slow heart rate, for example, but you're talking about low thyroid and different things like that would intervene. I mean, how I would handle it, you're asking about magnesium. With the ReMag, if you're taking low doses, you know, maybe just sticking with a maintenance dose until your ReMag supports your thyroid enough and whatever else is going on is balanced. Let's just look up the heart rate for a pacemaker. That's I've often said that as well. If what are the signs of needing a pacemaker? A slower pulse than normal, bradycardia. So are they giving us any numbers? Because, see, everybody is different. You know, slow for one person, like I said, an athlete can have a very slow heart rate. But if it's slow due to the muscles of the heart not responding properly to the electrolyte, the electrical stimulation that creates the heart rate. So I'm not finding a number. They just said much slower pulse rate than normal. I personally would just be on the 300 milligrams, or being a male, 420 is just the normal low RDA. So I'd take it slowly and heal up the other stuff. What happens with people who have conditions like POTS, P-O-T-S, I'll go over that with you as soon as this comes up. That is a condition where magnesium deficiency itself can cause an underactive autonomic nervous system, leading to low blood pressure and low pulse and poor circulatory system performance. Some people think magnesium will lower their blood pressure further, but slowly increasing magnesium will treat the problem and improve the blood pressure. So that's blood pressure. No, POTS is a tachycardia, so it's a higher heart rate due to the autonomic nervous system. You would just have to follow yourself and check your pulse. If it's always been in the 45 to 55 and it doesn't change on magnesium, then you're golden. So this is where you would have to really pay attention, because as I'm not able to, there's no definitive answer, and I'm not able to find anything online, then you would just do your own N=1 experiment, Peter. Okay?
Hey, Carolyn, where he says, I have a slight heart arrhythmia due to high blood pressure. Would you say that it's not due to high blood pressure, it's due to magnesium deficiency?
I could say that, exactly. Yes, so I didn't write down those words. Thanks, Bob. So, yeah, those are arrhythmia and blood pressure are indications of magnesium deficiency. And if you're on, if you're on a medication, that could be slowing down your heart rate too. So there's a lot going on here, but there's enough indication of magnesium deficiency to work with ReMag, gently and slowly.
Very good. Now, what Helen typed in, so this is interesting because we kind of have a run on the topic, Carolyn. I have had vertical ridges in my fingernails since 40 years old, and I'm now 64. My recent lab work is all normal. What could be the cause of this, and how can it be remedied? Well, then Doug typed in, and I don't know if this is my Doug or just a Doug, and Doug typed in, and he said, for years I've had ridges and bumps on my middle finger of my left hand. Last year I learned that Malassezia yeast can cause these conditions, which is a fungus. So I applied Pico Silver to that fingernail, 1 drop once a day for a week, skipped a week, then repeated again. I think it took 55 days to completely grow a new clean nail, and today it is still clean. I was also taking ReMag and ReMide at the time. So there's something very interesting. I love our customers constantly experimenting with our products and telling us all this cool stuff about what they do. Is that just great?
Yes, and I think people are putting Pico Silver on their fungal toenails as well. So we want to hear about that. Fungal toenails are really a problem for a lot of people, and they can be put on very strong oral antifungal drugs, which can have side effects. So let's get that Pico Silver pumping.
Yeah, absolutely.
What helps adrenal fatigue?
ReMag, Whole C Reset, our vitamin C that's in the pipeline, and the B vitamins in Realign, and lying down therapy.
Right, because Michelle says she follows Dr. Berg for adrenal fatigue. Well, maybe Michelle could try our products. She's on some of them. Find out how it improves, gets rid of adrenal fatigue, and then get Dr. Berg selling our products.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there doing all kinds of different things. I know a lot of the adrenal support remedies, especially if they're desiccated adrenal. I learned early on not to use them more than for a couple of months at a time, and to really support the different hormonal organs, like the thyroid needs 9 minerals, the adrenals, as I said, needs what I said they do, and the ReMide is going to help too. And I find that we have a long-term sustained program for all the organs, because if you just focus on an adrenal protocol, what about your thyroid? What about your sex hormones? All of them play together, and you have to support them all at once, and not just focus on one at a time.
People ask if magnesium will help something.
Yeah.
How would you say that magnesium deficiency is involved in every problem? The millions of diseases that people talk about, you say, well, a lot of it involves magnesium deficiency. How can you make that point without violating the FDA rules?
Well, I quote what we learned at the Magnesium Research Conference held at the NIH, that 80% of known metabolic functions in the human body require magnesium. So anything that's going on in the body requires magnesium. period.
Yeah. And that fact is not known.
No. I mean, it's
not talked about.
Not talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, the researchers know it, but even then, they're not. They don't know the right magnesium. I mean, our dear, amazing doctors Burton and Bella Altura. I mean, they complained to me that Bella could only take magnesium every second day because she was using magnesium oxide. So
that was 20 years ago.
Was it?
1999,
right.
When you did the book.
So this Dr. Berg, he has ashwagandha, it's not organic, an Indian herb, amla berry, camu, grass-fed beef liver extract. You can't get pure liver very readily. Acerola cherry, so that's your vitamin C. Pantethine, it's a B vitamin. Paradoxal phosphate, I don't know if that's methylated or not. So those are a couple B vitamins. Organic grass-fed desiccated adrenals. So like I said, these organ extracts, I don't recommend them to be taken for more than a couple months at a time. Manganese, zinc, copper, and no magnesium. No magnesium. And, you know, what can I say? Magnesium is the most important mineral for the adrenal glands, and there's none in this supposed adrenal support. And, yeah, that's what we're up against all the time.
Yeah. How does magnesium deficiency influence the development of cancer? Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I have that in the Magnesium Miracle book. I go over the recent cancer research. So it's there. It's an aspect. Also, it's an aspect of cancer is sugar intake. Sugar intake, the conflict, according to Total Biology, and magnesium is in there for sure.
And a sense of powerlessness, Ion says, is a big factor in cancer.
Yeah, that's a conflict. If you feel you have an irresolvable conflict that can kind of force the body to try to grow some extra tissue to solve the conflict, and that extra tissue is diagnosed as cancer tissue.
Very good.
Thank you, Bob. Very good input there. Very calmly done, too. None of your frantic, hysterical butting into our program.
Well, I've decided to take the bundle before the show starts, so maybe that's helped.
You took the bundle. Okay, Ginny, back to you. Thank you, Bob.
Excellent. Now, I want to make clear, Jan, that Helen typed in and said, I have the vertical ridges. And then I talked about Doug's response about using the Pico Silver. So here's Helen's response. She said, being an O blood type tends to be prone to candida. I would not surprise me at all if this is the case. I suspect I have a candida problem and will need to up my treatment. I will give Pico Silver a try on my nails, and I will look further into Carolyn's protocol. So, Jan, that was the answer, is to use the Pico Silver on your nails and see if that does attack that. If it is a fungus, it'll take care of it and, be done. And Doug gave an approximation of timing, which was about 55 days on and off every other week. So, just something to consider. And other than the things that we've talked about here already on the radio, which was zinc and mineral deficiency. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. What else do we have to go over, Carolyn? Let's check our phones. Gosh, we've been so busy gabbing. Nobody on the phone. Nobody on the phone. 60. Yeah, so good. We'll just keep going. All right, what's
You
next?
can give out the number. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you do want to talk to Carolyn. And if you're on the phone and you want to talk to her, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. So far, nobody's waving their hands, so I don't think anybody wants to talk to Carolyn. And sometimes they just enjoy the therapeutic vibration of Carolyn's voice through the phone.
There's something going wrong off here. There's 3 people. One has indicated 3 times. There's several people on the board with their hand up. Do you see 906?
Oh,
about the middle.
Okay, I see. Yep, I see them now. I had to refresh my screen. Okay, great. Well, let's go to the phone. Area code 906. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Valerie Olson, and my question is, how would you neutralize the acidic pH of reverse osmosis water using maybe ReMag and Himalayan pink salt and unrefined sea salt? And would the goal be to get the pH of the water somewhere around 7.5, or what do you suggest?
Yes, I didn't realize, but I'm sure you're right that RO, reverse osmosis water, is acidic. And actually, it's better to have a tiny bit of acidic water, apparently, as opposed to the high alkaline that people are advising. But yeah, neutral pH around 7. Do you have pH strips, Valerie, where you can test the water?
Yes, I do. And this is really mostly for my clients that, in thinking they were getting the most pure water, decided to get reverse osmosis systems. And of course, all the minerals are pulled out, so they're wanting to know, well, how do I make the water pH better?
Right. And I haven't done that bit of research, but I would think that putting magnesium is more alkaline, so it should help. Sea salt is probably a little bit alkaline, but you'd have to do the experiment to see. Mostly, we have good results with people just putting the sea salt in. But I haven't checked it out. It would be very interesting to do that.
Is there a goal for the amount of sea salt, for a person to have? I know I've had classes with Dr. David Brownstein, and he really advocates 1 to 2 teaspoons of unrefined salt a day, especially for people with adrenal fatigue because of all the trace minerals present.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess it would depend, if you put a teaspoon in a gallon of water, you're going to get a teaspoon plus what's on your food if you drink that much or use that much in cooking, between cooking and drinking.
Right, and thank you for bringing that up. I neglected sodium from sea salt for adrenal support. That's very important, so thank you. Well, you know what I say, Valerie, just the 1/4 teaspoon per liter of water. I personally put a 1/4 teaspoon in 16 ounces of water and drink 3 of those glasses a day. So I'm getting less than I'm getting 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt, and then I have some in my foods, or added to my food, or in the sodium in the plant life itself. So I just it goes by weight, the amount of water you drink, and then you put in the 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt.
Well, that sounds good. And we'll just monitor the pH, and with a goal of being at least at a 7. Thank you.
Right,
Thank you
and let me know. Yeah, let me know what you find out. That would be very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Excellent.
Wonderful caller. Great contribution there. Let's go out to Florida, the great state of Florida, area code 352. 352, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, my name is Rhea, and I want to go back to the heart rate issue because for some reason I've been on the protocol. I ordered the products, and I've been on the bundle. And then yesterday I stopped drinking the water because my heart rate, is it possible that these products made my heart rate go up, or it could be something else, but it's really concerning me. And I don't know, should I go back to take more?
Hang on. I need to know a few things, Rhea. How long have you been on the bundle?
About 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
And you slowly build up the minerals, like we say?
In the water, I did. Yes, I did. I started the ReMag even before I got the bundle.
Right. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm old. I'm 77.
Okay, no problem. Very good. You sound like a young 77, so that's good. And this business about the heart rate, have you, skipped some meals? Do you think there's any low blood sugar? Do you think your adrenal glands got a little stirred up? What about all that?
Well, there's possibility of all of that. I've had this problem before. In fact, about 3 years ago, I had 2 cardiac ablations. Yeah. And because I've had rapid heartbeat for the last couple of years, and then it'll go away. And this time it's sticking with me, and it's very disconcerting, really. I mean, it's...
Right. Well, what happens... I'll get you to go back and read our book, Atrial Fibrillation, Remineralize Your Heart. It's at the drcarolyndeanlive.com under the book section, because when you start supplying your body with the nutrients, the minerals, etc., you do wake up your body. And I don't know if, a month in is too short or too long a time to say that might be going on, but things can be sort of revved up a little bit. Do you feel you have a little bit more energy?
Yeah, maybe I do, because I was very, very, very tired before.
Right. And the next question, Rhea, is with that extra energy, have you been doing more? Have you been cleaning the house or running around like a kid again? Any of that?
A little bit, but then I also have chronic, I have not very good digestion, and last week I had an endoscopy, and, they're trying to find out why I have diarrhea all the time, and everything's just so frustrating.
Right. Now, do you think the ReMag is contributing to your diarrhea?
Well, I started with 1/8 of a teaspoon. I mean, when I first started, I started very low. So, yeah. And then I got up to like 1.5 teaspoons about a week ago, and then I thought, maybe this is too much for me. So then I backed back down to 1 teaspoon of the ReMag and 1/2 teaspoon of the ReMite. And then yesterday I just said, well, maybe I shouldn't take any of it. So I stopped, but I still have the rapid heartbeat. They diagnosed me with...
it's not going to go away overnight if it's been created by an imbalance of the minerals. But the question is, do you have diarrhea every day?
Almost, and I'll skip a couple of days now. I haven't had it for 2 days now, but I'll have it for no reason, and it'll just come on, and I'll have, and a lot of times.
What I'm going to get you to do, Rhea, is send in a request to our customer service support at rnareset.com for someone to sit on the phone with you and go over all this, because, with chronic diarrhea, you can be losing minerals.
Yeah.
What you're putting in, you could be losing. And at the same time, the ReMag in a certain low percentage of people, but people who have, digestion problems can get the laxative effect, but we have ways around that, taking psyllium seed or aloe or, just making sure you're taking it the right way because, there's something going on, and there's many possibilities. So I'd rather you talk to someone to get it all clear. Okay?
Okay. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. So I should just call customer service and say I need to talk to somebody. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Jenny will put your name
I have your number. I will call you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll have your number. I'll just give you a call tomorrow. Okay. That way I'm kind of up on what's going on, and it'll be easier for you than having to repeat yourself. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So, Rhea, just to sum up, there are good reasons for what's happening. We may know them because of our experience with all the people that we talk to, and we just want to let you know what we've learned so that you'll feel more comfortable about what you're doing, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, very good. Very good. Yippee!
Yeah. Nice, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there are reasons, and Rhea's at the stage where she's just getting, a bit upset about what's going on, but there's so much going on that we have to sort it out and give her the best opportunity to feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree completely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see. One more phone call here so far at area code 917. Our good friend David back this week. Hi, David. Dr. Dean's on the line with you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Ginny. Hi, Dr. Dean. Dr. Dean, if I may respond to the woman who called about how to raise the pH, the water pH.
Oh, yeah.
Sodium bicarbonate will do that easily.
Oh, okay. Sodium bicarb. But I'm not that keen. Yeah, I know, but I'm not that keen on the sodium bicarb, because it if you take too much of an alkaline, it's like an antacid, and it will decrease your stomach acid. That's why I was hesitating about how alkaline to be. The water I drink, I have an alkaline filter, but I dial it for a slight acidic, like 6.5.
Yeah, exactly. I always add it to my water, even before I met you, and I have the stripe that I measure the pH. So I put a pinch in a bottle of about 56 ounces of water. And I put a pinch of sodium bicarbonate, and I'll get 6.5 or 7 easy.
Yeah.
Very, very easy.
Think of it this way, David. What I'm trying to do with people is make the water alkaline with something that has some substance to it. The sea salt and the ReMag and the Remite.
Yes.
The bicarb is like a Band-Aid. But see, you're giving information on my show that some people may just, I'll go do the bicarb. I don't have to worry about anything else. But I'm saying, no, this is like a Band-Aid for the pH. I want people to do sea salt, ReMag, and Remite to make their water properly balanced with minerals and the right pH. You know what I'm saying.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And if you want, I'll stand in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Come back next week and ask me a better question. Okay?
No. I have one more question, please. One more question. Give me a sign of saturation, because I'm experiencing
some laxative in the last few days. But that may be because I take other magnesium, so I should stop it. That's the reason, right?
Yes, exactly, and that's a great question. Yes, when people start the ReMag, we say stay on your other magnesiums, and then as you reach a laxative effect, get rid of the other magnesiums because they're most likely causing the laxative effect, and then continue on with the ReMag. Exactly.
Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. So that's the only sign for the saturation is the laxative effect, right?
I believe so. Yes, I really do believe that is. And, you know, David, we tell people that ReMag is non-laxative just to, get their attention. But absolutely, when your cells are saturated, it will be laxative too because the body doesn't have to be the cells don't want to be oversaturated. So the ReMag will go out through the intestines. So it's still a perfect sign.
And spraying the body is not going to give a laxative effect, right?
A spray or the ReMag lotion, no, but it will add to your magnesium. But but David, if you remember from Magnesium Miracle book, I have a story about someone who put in several pounds of Epsom salts in their bath, and they got the laxative effect. So, it'll eventually get there. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling, David. Nice to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent. Okay, let's take a couple other phone calls, Carolyn. Let's go to area code 360, Battleground, Washington. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, hi. My name is Neil, and 6 or 8 weeks ago I was hospitalized with, they diagnosed me with pneumonia and sepsis combined. They put me on antibiotics, which I took all they prescribed, and then I went on probiotics. My question to you is, I know it's a broad question, but could you give me an overview of how to prevent this sepsis from coming back?
So the pneumonia, are you saying you had so much that they found pus in your lungs that it got into your bloodstream? Tell me exactly what.
I don't know exactly what they were based it on. They just merely said I had pneumonia and also sepsis with it.
Yeah, because sepsis doesn't often relate to the lungs. They talk about sepsis in intestinal infections or appendicitis. Sepsis occurs when the body's response to toxins is out of balance, triggering changes that can damage multiple organ systems. I don't know what to say about exactly what happened to you. I don't know, but what I would say is you should read my book, Reset the Yeast Connection, because you definitely will have gotten yeast from all those antibiotics, and part of the yeast protocol is Pico Silver, and I think you'd be interested to read the Silver Report. It's at drcarolyndeanlive.com. It's the first or second entry under books, and it's just incredible what this Pico Silver can do to help support the immune system, and as you say, to not ever have this happen again.
Yeah, I've been taking probiotics since the prescription or the antibiotics run out.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Well,
you'll read more about the probiotics in the yeast book. I've been after yeast overgrowth for decades, Neil. So I've pretty much covered the waterfront on yeast. So when you read that, you'll see, maybe you'll even see that you possibly had yeast before the pneumonia that got you into the situation. And so that's important for you to know. Okay?
All makes sense. What you're saying, Carolyn.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, do your reading, come back and let us know how you're making out, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Okay, very good. And also going on to the great state of Virginia, area code 757. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, this is Sherry. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, so I have two younger sisters who have difficulty swallowing, and then I just heard of one of my friends with the difficulty swallowing, and they're probably, they're in their 40s and 50s. And I was just wondering if that could be a magnesium deficiency where they're getting, follow-ups where they're having endoscopic procedures to release like strictures or bands within the esophagus where it's like seized up and clamped down where they, can't, at certain points in time, they can't even swallow their own saliva. So I was just wondering if you had heard of that being a magnesium deficiency.
Sure, yes. Tell them to look at my ReMag book under books at drcarolyndeanlive.com, Invisible Minerals Part 1 /ReMag. And I have a couple of cases in there of esophageal spasms where in the middle of not being able to swallow saliva, someone just dribbles a little magnesium in their mouth and the spasm releases. Now, if they're seeing strictures in the esophagus, that can be related to reflux, heartburn, GERD, reflux that's burning the esophagus. But in women in their 40s and 50s, that just shouldn't be happening. That happens more so in alcoholics, for Pete's sake. So, the first step is to get them saturated with ReMag and then see if it helps the symptoms.
Okay, because I know with my sister, she said the doctor had said something about it being eosinophil, where it's kind of like a reaction where all these certain eosinophils come into the esophagus and it may be a reaction. I don't know.
Yeah, hemorrhagic eosinophilia can do that, but then we still go back to magnesium deficiency because magnesium is an antihistamine. So I'll stick with the magnesium deficiency until proven otherwise.
You're sticking with the magnesium.
That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll stick with it until everybody's taking our ReMag.
Well, I got my mom on the program. I just have to work on my two younger sisters now.
Oh, good. Well, if they're presenting with those symptoms and after a few doses they feel their symptoms abating, then you've got them, right?
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling, Sherry. And Ginny is coming back to us any second now.
Oh, here I am. Okay, very good. What a beautiful, lovely run of phone calls. Thank you, everybody, for calling in and chitty-chatting with Dr. Dean tonight. I think we're all caught up on this part, Carolyn. Let me go to our chat line. Mary's asking, is bone broth collagen required on a daily basis?
No, just eat food. This whole collagen and bone broth business, and it's just another thing to sell to people. Make your food, boil your bones, break them up a bit, put that in your stews and soups. Don't get too distracted by more products in the world. I know I'm putting it down a bit, but It just should be regular food instead of a supplement. We've gotten so far away from making our own food now that just people don't even know what it means to have a good jellied bone broth. And there may be more chat, but I want to go over this quickly. It's a topic that maybe I'll have to do next week as well, but it's the layering of disease. It's kind of along the lines of the priorities, but not really. And here's what I've observed over the past 40 years. It's a pattern of disease that makes it impossible for allopathic medicine to cope with the epidemic of chronic disease or to offer accurate testing to diagnose the multiple interwoven layers of chronic disease. In my general practice, when I first started in 1979, most people that came to me had hypoglycemia and allergies. And we treated the hypoglycemia with 6 small meals a day, stopped the carbohydrates or the simple carbohydrates. With allergies, we had people avoiding everything that they were allergic to, and that turned out to be difficult because people were avoiding too many things. Then there was yeast overgrowth that seemed to take over. Chronic fatigue syndrome came along and fibromyalgia. And in amongst there, we were looking at histamine allergies, copper toxicity, iron overload, leaky gut, and then there was HIV, then Lyme disease and parasites were in amongst all that. All these things culminated in adrenal fatigue, early menopause, and hypothyroidism, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and that's an autoimmune disease of which now there are dozens. Even NASH, non-alcoholic liver disease, non-alcoholic liver disease, NASH, it's said to be epidemic now, is said to have features of autoimmune disease. So I began calling the whole process total body meltdown, and all that allopathic or allopathetic medicine does about it is treat the symptoms of all these undiagnosable conditions making people sicker, and the alternative medicine community runs rampant trying to mimic allopathic medicine by using every test in the book and every supplement available to try to help people while turning alternative medicine into a business. So I was fortunate because I had yeast overgrowth, so I knew about yeast overgrowth right in the beginning. I knew it was a major cause of chronic disease since the early 80s. Well, I probably learned about it in my naturopathic studies in the late 70s. And that was the underlying cause of allergies. So it all became clearer and clearer to me that the irritation of the mucous membranes by the yeast was creating the allergies. And also the toxins were creating symptoms that were being misdiagnosed as hypoglycemia, or that when the adrenal glands started to get stressed out, that would cause blood sugar crashes and vice versa. At the time I had my practice in Toronto, I had a lab in the basement, and I was testing for food allergies and yeast antibodies, but I quickly realized that everyone with yeast had allergies because of undigested food molecules that were absorbed in a yeast-compromised small intestine. So that became known as leaky gut and the whole intestinal dysbiosis that was blamed on bacterial imbalance, and yeast was left out of the picture because it's too difficult to test for. In the late 90s, and when we were living in Manhattan, I was asked to write the book on magnesium, and that pulled together the other piece of the chronic disease puzzle, so yeast overgrowth and magnesium deficiency. So knowing all this and acknowledging it in my patients and on my customers gave me incredible insight on how to treat and prevent all these conditions. That's why our Total Body Reset Bundle was created, and why it and Pico Silver are key to treating mineral deficiencies and yeast overgrowth. So there, what do you think of that? What do you think of that going?
You know what I think? I'm all about what you just said. That was awesome. Yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah. So we start with the history and we end with the history, and sandwiched in between is the now, and that's perfect.
Yeah, the layering of disease. So we've got the answer, a serious answer to serious problems, but we present it with love and fun in our hearts. Right,
that
Bob?
Is exactly correct. Yes. Good night, everybody. Thank you. We'll be back next week.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ginny, and thank you, callers and listeners. Awesome.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.